What's the first thing you're doing if you won $10 million? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. Put the $9,800,000 in a closed account and travel and go crazy with the $200,000. After I got it out of my system, we'll start to plan what to do with it. Story 2. I'd put $8 million into an S&P 500 index fund and live off the dividends. With the remaining $2 million, I'd buy my mother's house and retire her, purchase a home for my wife, and cover IVF treatments in the hopes of starting a family. Story 3. Be quiet. Tell no one except wife. Take a vacation. Be an anonymous benefactor to my friends and family. On my vacation, I would hire a lawyer and financial consultant. Put 75% in SP 500. Donate to autism research, American Cancer Society, and veterans groups. I'd quit my job. Become its stay-at-home dad. My wife would likely quit too. Dedicate my life to my son the way I always wanted. He has severe autism. Take him to the park every day. Story 4. Second home in Portugal. And get a local lawyer there. Clear my parents' debt. Clear my debt. Coast on a high-yield savings account and a job for the next 4 years. Story 5. Freaking right the hell out at the mere concept of holding a slip of paper that's worth $10 million, assuming this is a lottery win. Seriously, from the time I find out you've won to the time I've turned it in at the lottery office, I would be a hot mess of anxiety. Story 6. Paying off my immediate debts and getting a new but unassuming vehicle. Consult with a planner, attorney, and accountant. Give some to my dad and some to my sister. Fix the house I'm in. Maybe build a new one. Fund a local art cooperative. Make art and music. Travel. Story 7. Paying off my mom's, my sister's, and my buddy's houses in full. Then buying one with some land. Then doing a whole lot less of anything for a good long while the bulk of what's left is invested. Story 8. Hire an attorney and an investment advisor. I should be able to get, on average, $400K / your return on that money, which I will use for the rest of my days. I can do most anything for $400K / year, even yachting. Story 9. Take care of Dad. He's a great guy and was a small business owner for 40 years. He sold it 13 years ago and retired. He's 78 now, and because his ex-wife hid a gambling problem from him and spent all his money without his knowledge, he had to go out and get a job. BTW, not a lot of places want to hire a guy his age. He's a janitor working 4 days a week just to make ends meet. Luckily, he's in good health and shape for his age, but I hate that he has to work so hard, and I hate my stepmom so much. Story 10. Quitting my job, paying off my father-in-law's house, setting my nephew up for college. Then I'll move somewhere fresh and volunteer while I do my online school. I'll work on my soul instead of my bank account. Story 11. Paying off every debt that I have and finally being debt-free. Probably buy a modest house shortly after outright. Then invest the rest of the money in a high-return investment account and attempt to live off the interest. Story 12. Once the money has been claimed and is in my accounts, I'd quit my job, sign up for the best private health insurance plan I can find, and then I'd probably spend 6-12 months doing absolutely nothing. Just hanging out, playing video games, maybe working with a personal trainer, and just letting myself relax and settle down before making any big decisions. Story 13. 2 chicks at the same time, man. I think that if I were a millionaire, I could hook that up too, because chicks dig dudes with money, at least the kind of chicks that would double up on a dude like me. Story 14. Student loans, house payment. Get out of debt, see what I have left over, and hope to invest. Probably upgrade mine and my wife's vehicle, as they are 12 and 22 years old, respectively. Travel is very important to me, but I want to be financially well off through some kind of investment portfolio first. Story 15. I would put a roof over the head of every family member who didn't have one, then put money away for kids' retirement and grandkids' school, then donate what is left. Well, I might buy us a new pickup because our current one is 24 years old. Story 16. Tell no one but my wife, then create a trust. When all the legal is done, I'm going to retire from my job citing health reasons. We won't move, we won't change our lifestyle, other than maybe to travel more. Set up trusts for the kids. Done. Story 17. Put the money into a high-interest bank account. Pay off all debts. Set up a reoccurring weekly allowance to a debit card. Calculate how much interest it's earning per month and divide that by 4 to get the weekly allowed budget. Never tell anyone. Quit my job and start pursuing creative things like art, photography, game development, create YouTube videos, etc., things that could make money and keep the mind active. Budget for a trip every 3 to 6 months, separate from the weekly allowance to pay for the accommodation, flights, car hire, etc. This would be the only thing cause the money to go down as the allowance is living off the interest. Maybe. Buy another larger property on a large piece of land that is considered farmland but still within decent distance from civilization. 30 minutes drive, and has good internet. Live it in and have the other property as a rental for another income stream since it's paid off. Story 18. Don't tell anyone except 2 lawyers, one in the hometown and one in a state without a state income tax. Have lawyer 2 rent a cheap mobile home, sub it to me. I move to it. Set up complete local identity, phone, DL, voter registration, even a throwaway mobile device. Then get some serious financial advice. More lawyers and tax accountants. Oh, sign the back of the ticket and make 5 copies of it front and back. If possible, and you have to show up, pick the worst day possible. Friday with a Monday holiday coming up. Rain and cold is your friend. Maybe worth a call to the lottery office and find out how long the processing is. Go at the last minute to get things done. Do the lottery dough/C/dough. Grab the check. Make sure the picture is worse than a mugshot. Disappear. The only lottery winner I met was at a convenience store in a fishing area that no one goes to by accident. The only indicator of wealth was his caddy. Story 19, finally get the dental care I need. Get my residence professional cleaning. Get lawyer help to keep my money from being stolen by scam stalkers, taxes, etc. Pay any all debts. If possible, invest into a sort of guaranteed perpetual rolling funds. Thus give me annual income of at least $444,000. Perhaps if possible, quietly disappear and quietly, harmlessly, constantly traveling around doing good for others and myself. Story 20, buying and setting a moonshine still back up. Haven't ran the liquor in a while. Started when I was 14. Been dying to try to make some apple pie shine that runs out of the thumper a dirty brown. Story 21, walk out of the house, get in my truck, call no one, not even my wife. Go to the park and just sit in nature for an hour or two and just take in life for the moment, knowing my life is different now. Story 22, talking to a CPA and an attorney. These days, 10 mil won't last very long. Hell, if you go nuts buying nice houses and cars for you, your parents, and maybe your kids, you could go broke in 6 months. I have 3 kids who are all disabled. One will die young, somewhere in the range of 10, 15 years from now. The other 2 will long outlive my wife and I. One of those is the type who could possibly end up a paranoid homeless shopping cart pusher. So I absolutely need to make arrangements to support them after I'm gone. Then I have a rather large extended family that I wish to avoid. Some of them are the sort to come out of the woodwork with their hands out if they knew I had big money. So I need to arrange things to protect my household from such folk. Only then could I go shopping. I want to get a Neoplan Jumbo Cruiser double-decker bendy bus, or a modern equivalent and outfit it as a wheelchair-accessible RV. I'd find one of the disability exoskeleton companies willing to adapt their product to a muscular dystrophy patient and buy one for my son, stock the RV with stainless steel manual and tracked tank tread wheelchairs for specific uses, and then travel the continent. I want my kids to see the Aurora Borealis, the giant redwoods, see the whales off Nova Scotia, the Calgary Stampede, etc. Story 23. Visiting a financial planner in the next town over where no one knows or has any connection to me and demanding to speak to a senior advisor because the college graduate junior employee they are going to try to pawn me off on is not equipped to handle that amount of money. Story 24. High yield saving account for $3 million with average APY of 5 to 10% should give me $10K plus a month. This would be the money I would eventually survive off of. Invest 6M, buy hold blue cap stocks, and buy 1+ years options contracts. Always looking for buy and holds. With safe invests as well, like ETFs. Split up an entire portfolio with highly probable trades, long-term investments. Keep 1M for myself to pay off my house, renovate my house the way I want it to be, around $400K. The other $600,000 I will life off of to travel the world while collecting savings, $10K/month. With decent normal travels without any luxury buys, I should be able to see every country eventually, no problem. No Lambos, no mansions, no jets, just a smart way to play your money. Story 25. Assuming it's all clean and the government knows and is fine with it. Buying crazy good medical insurance for all of my family and getting full workups for everything. Only after will I move into a better place and give $10K each to family for one-time splurge money. Everything left will be purely rent, bills, food, and the occasional gift. Depending on other things, getting a normal car or 2 would be good. We'll still probably be working a part-time job, though, for some extra income. Seeing people win hundreds of millions in lottery money and losing all of it is a crazy thing to read about. 10 mil is enough in life. Edit. Investments. Story 26. Buy up all the family property. I've watched it slip away over the years as older family members grew old, sick, desperate to pay for treatments. It has been in the family since before they were writing deeds. I trusted my parents' generation to hold on to it, but they hardly got the chance. If I had enough money to take it over, I'd have enough to relieve them of the burden, and it would be my heaven. Story 27. Pop like 8 million in one or various savings/interest accounts, and use the rest to either buy a small home for my family and I, or use toward rent somewhere I genuinely enjoy. Somewhere with a gym and pool and its own laundry and unit in a nice area. Put a chunk aside for any vet bills that may arise for my cat. Invest in my hobbies, wanted career path. Give anything not to feel like I'm drowning. Story 28. Pay off student loans, pay off house. Put away a chunk for my kids' college fund. Quit my job, take a long vacation. Find a part-time job I really like that doesn't require me to sacrifice a large part of myself every day. Buy a summer home somewhere nice. Coast. Story 29. Pay off all debts, including mortgage. Set aside funds for all future education for my 3 kids. Set up trusts for my 3 kids. Invest in family. New roof on the house. After that, probably not much will change, but won't be struggling anymore. Not like I can retire. Story 30. Quiet at first. I'll even report to my job for a short time, but spend the day getting in contact with an estate attorney, getting things drawn up, budgeting. Within a week, though I'm sure I'll be waiting on others for some legal documentation things, I'll have most things I need to in life buttoned up. Story 31. Quitting my job, I don't even think I'd be able to give them an honest 2 weeks. And I'm almost certain I'd give a nice little chunk to the folks I work with. They'd likely have to rehire the entire office once I left, because there'd be nobody else working here. Story 32. In most large lotteries or jackpots, like Megabucks starts at 10 million, in the US, if you take the lump sum, it's actually the current value that would become 10 million in 25 or 30 years. So the payout is roughly half, or 5 million. Of that, federal taxes will drop that to about 3 million, and then there's state taxes. A lot of people are talking about retiring or putting 8 million in investments. Depending on your age, you might not be able to retire on 3 million, especially if you are paying off or buying homes, vehicles, and traveling without steady income. Story 33. Get a lawyer, financial advisor, quit my job, investing at least 8 to 9 M, and live off dividends. Buy a nice chunk of land and house with a view away from people. New truck. Put some money in a trust for retirement for both my kids they can't touch until they're at least 50. Get to reading all the books and comics I'm behind on, and work on building a nice Lego/hobby/toy collection room to keep myself busy. Story 34. First of all, not tell anyone. We'd pay off the house, set up funds to retire off of, and then set up some kind of philanthropic organization to help people who just need $5,000, $10,000 to get out of a jam, providing them with free financial/investment/tax consultations, whatever they needed to get out of said jam and onto a path to self-sufficiency. Who needs a stadium with their name on it? There are so many ordinary people out there suffering. You could help a lot of them. Story 35. My best friend since I was young always busted his ass and had never gotten ahead. It's just the world we live in. I would show up at his place of employment and let them know he quits, effective immediately. Story 36. In the words of Todd Snyder, if I ever do get my money together, I'm going to take care of all of my friends. Buy an island, run a phone line call. Then tell them all to get fucked. That ought to take care of them. Story 37-1. Clear my debt. House, both my husband's and my car, paid off entirely, about $300K. 2. Give 9 million to someone smarter than me to invest, leaving me with about 700K. 3. Give my boss the peace of my mind I've been holding inside with an iron grip for the last 9 years. 4. Start researching better places to live. You better believe your butt I'm getting out of Dodge. 5. Keep the house as a rental, but sell the cars when I'm ready to move. The 700K goes toward my property. 6. Set myself an amount to live on and a threshold for investments. Once a year, I take all the money that exceeds that threshold and donate it. First to my family to pay off their debts, then it's going to animal rescues. 7. Retire to a nice piece of forest land in the middle of nowhere and tend to my garden and write novels for the rest of my days. Story 38. Obviously not quitting my job or changing any patterns in my life for at least 3 months. I'm getting a good lawyer and financial advisor and spending that 3 months planning out my next 40 years. Once that's figured out, then I pay off my condo, keep it, rent it out, and buy a nice home, not a mansion. Then I tell my friends and family and then quit my job. Story 39. Once all my debts are paid, I would start with a new house. We love our current place, but we have compromised a bit on location and amenities. Honestly, I probably would not spend a huge amount extra. I would likely keep a home of about the same size, but would like to live on the lake by the city. It would be cool to fully gut a large older home and redo it exactly how I would like. Outside of that, my biggest expenditure would probably be home theater and audio equipment. I just like that stuff, and not having a real budget would be fun. Story 40. Pay off all my debts. Buy a dream house for my 2 siblings and each parent. Invest the rest into S&P 500 and other safe foreign stocks. Quit my job. Go through culinary school and counseling/therapy schooling. Work part-time as a counselor or chef, depending on how I'm feeling. Story 41. Take-home pay on that $10 million is going to be around $6.3 million after federal taxes. I would want to ensure that I am not hit with state tax in the year I claim the prize, so I would move to a state without state income tax and claim residency. I wouldn't tell anyone that I win the money. I would tell everyone that I am moving for 6 months to train for a new job. If anyone asked what the job is, I would say I'm working at a family office. I would invest the $6.3 million into an index fund. I would draw no more than 3% on that fund each year, which is equivalent to $183,000. I would probably travel a lot the first year, but then begin doing hobbies that make additional money for fun. Story 42. Quitting my job and spending a few days with each friend and family member. Doing something nice for each person, like helping my friend David buy a working, reliable used car. Then I'm traveling for a year by myself and buying a little house on a few acres and putting the rest in a retirement account. I would then get into gardening and only work part-time when I feel like it. Story 43. House and care for mom. Invest in a couple business plans I've been sitting on for years. Fix everything in my car, BC. I don't need a new one. Personal trainer. Meal delivery subscriptions. Therapist. That's it. I don't need anything to change. I just want to be better than where I'm at. Story 44, $1.5 million to the OSPCA. $1.5 million to Hospital for Sick Children. $1.5 million to build my dream home somewhere in either the US or Canada, pay off my GF and I's debts, and get her some new dentures. Then we get married. The rest goes into savings, and I'll pull money out to pay bills and buy food and things of that nature. Story 45, TBH. I don't think I'd care to stay very wealthy as long as I don't have to work for someone else, IDC. So first I'd open up a bunch of small businesses, self-serve car washes, laundromats, ice water machines, party rental/venue rental. Then I'd set me and my family very comfortably, more than likely retire my parents fully, buy my dad a nice truck, my mom a nice SUV, buy them a nice house. Then I'd get myself all the same. Save the rest or give some to local charities or try to help set up homeless people for a month so they can get back up their feet. Story 46. Probably order a curry or a pizza. Next thing would be a new car because while a new house and everything would come, they would take time to sort out. Whereas I like the idea of walking into a dealership and saying that one and driving away. Story 47. I'd honestly eat out. I haven't had good restaurant food in a long-ass time. But after that, getting the heck out of the hole I'm living in. Even if I just move to an apartment to start while I figure everything else out, getting out of this little town and crap living situation would be a massive boon to my day-to-day life. Story 48. Absolutely nothing for the first month. Do not tell anyone except wife. We'd both keep everything the same and keep going to work. Once the giddying excitement wore off, I'd plan a private consultation with a wealth manager and make decisions from there. Story 49. First, I would pay off debts. Then I would buy a farm and set up a wedding venue. I would get a lot of employees to do all the work, but I would be the florist. I would build a house for myself. I would leave my husband. I would also get a house cleaner. Story 50. Pay off all my debt first so that I don't have that looming over me as I figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of it. Although I likely wouldn't have to budget with that amount of money, especially as I don't live lavishly and don't intend to, and wouldn't quit working, I would at least like to know exactly how much I have to actually use once everything's been paid off. Second thing I would do is probably pay my outstanding tuition, as I pay tuition for my PhD very late all the time, seeing as I no longer receive funding and live paycheck to paycheck. I'd probably also put a specific chunk aside just for tuition so that I don't have to worry about it. Third thing, well, order something for dinner. Treat myself to a nice, big, expensive meal. I can worry about living arrangements, family, friends, etc. once I've eaten. Story 51. Paying debt. Taking a reasonably priced vacation. If I wasn't retired already, I'd quit my job so that someone who needed it could have it, as I don't anymore. Probably donate a significant amount, $100K-ish, to local charities. Story 52. New house. Not huge, just not a row home with a little land, but still in a neighborhood. Get a different job. I have no problem being a part-time retail drone, and whoever I work with gets free lunch or dinner every shift. Story 53. Meet with a financial planner. See what investments to make in order to let myself live on this indefinitely if possible. Then retire from my corporate job and do photography full-time on my own schedule. Story 54. I heard one good bit of advice from a lawyer who's dealt with lottery winners before. He suggested that a good thing to do is to leave town for a few weeks on a vacation immediately after the lottery win is made public. Right after a lottery winner is identified, there usually follows lots of requests for interviews, other media attention, or people sniffing around for a payout. If you leave town for a few weeks, then the story will die down in the media a bit by the time you return. This bit of advice is probably most useful to winners living in small towns. Story 55. Use it all to buy us treasuries and live off the interest payments. Even at 3%, that's $300K a year, and the income is exempt from federal taxes. This way you can sleep easy at night knowing you're set for life, but that's assuming the U.S. still exists. But if it doesn't, then we all have bigger problems to deal with. Another plus is you're almost guaranteed to still have $10 million at death, unless the U.S. ceases to be, so you'll have plenty for your kids and grandkids to inherit. Story 56. The first thing would be to start looking for some rental property. I currently own one rent house and really enjoy managing it and working with my tenant, etc. The thing is, though, I have a 2% COVID mortgage on that house. No way I'm paying 6.5% plus for an investment property. But if I had $10 million in extra cash, I'd pay cash for a couple of additional rental properties. I'd take the rest and add it mostly to my taxable brokerage account, maybe 80% VTI and 20% VXUS like I do with all other investments. But given the amount, I might move early into wealth preservation mode and allocate a majority to treasuries and bonds with like 40% equities. I'd also consider going overweight in small cap, mid cap, and international as kind of a hedge given current large cap valuations. I say mostly to the taxable brokerage, but I'd also add considerable amounts to my kids' 529s. They're still young, so that tax-free growth would be great. If they didn't need it all for college, they can roll $35K to a Roth for themselves in their 20s, and then they'll have their kids' college funded one day with the remainder. Given the time horizon and tax-free growth, I'd probably overfund the 529s enough that my great-grandkids could even have a college fund. Story 57. Using about $2 million to buy about 300 acres of forest and pasture land, and build a very modest, extremely energy-efficient and resilient insulated concrete farmhouse with standing seam metal roof plus small wind and solar system. Putting about $300,000 into a broad selection of crypto and dumping the remainder into index funds. Spending the rest of my life hunting and fishing and gathering wild foods. Story 58. Be quiet about it. Make sure my daughter gets most of it and my brother the rest, and disappear, probably west on some quiet little bit of land I can survive on with minimal investment. Story 59. The lawyer first. Already have a CPA and family. Prob put like $6 or so million in safe investments so I can live off the interest, pay off all my houses, buy a bailout house in the Caribbean, and a new Porsche Cayman GTS. I would prob keep working self-employed, but I would cut way back on the jobs I do take. Story 60. Buy a dozen eggs. But actually open my own business in Japan and invite my friends from around the world to come work for me for a decent salary without having to actually do anything, so we can just chill with our visas. Story 61. Literally not telling anyone and not leaving my house for a week to just soak it in and realize that life has changed. Maybe plan out some future ideas and research good lawyers and accountants to spend wisely. Maybe live life the way the rich get to and actually appreciate it. Story 62. Paying past due taxes and current tax on it. That's not enough money to be able to afford the kind of people you need working for you in order to pay no taxes. Top-tier tax lawyers and accountants. Story 63. Before or after quitting my soul-crushing job? Well, I would rest east, knowing I won't have to be on LinkedIn for life. I would also look into establishing a small indie game project. Other than that, I agree with most comments about getting an accountant and a retirement plan. Story 64. Retire, which is not an option for me in reality. Get help with investments to grow the money, and use some of my profit to help the needy. I'd wake up when I'm good and ready every day. I'd make breakfast and eat it slowly, and enjoy not having to rush through it to get to some damn job on time. I would invent a cover story about getting a well-paying remote job, and I'd gradually improve my struggling friends' lives. In a few years, maybe I'll find ways to help them get wealthy too. No peace and contentment for the first time in my adult life. Story 65. Paying off my debts, buying my house, buying my business, and then investing a few million into dividend stocks so I could afford life off part of the dividends and the rest gets invested back into stocks. Story 66. Become a recluse. I'll start by finding a nice area to live in the countryside far away from people. Doesn't need to be too far. I'd like to still be able to get into a city or town within a few hours. Set myself up in a humble, small home. Could even be a trailer home, I don't mind, as long as I have my basic needs met, like bathroom, desk for my PC, bed, etc. As long as I have a decent plot of empty land so I can start planting vegetables and fruit and cover the rest in solar panels. I'll probably have to use 4/5 G data for my internet, which is fine as I already do that now. I'll try my best to become self-sustained with food and electricity and just live out my life in peace. I don't believe our current civilization is sustainable in a comfortable manner, and that our society will very slowly collapse and living conditions will become less and less luxury, more and more expensive. I don't want to be part of it. Story 67. Disconnect from the outer world, just answering calls from my mom. Make sure the money is on a savings account, not checking. Quit my job or just don't show up. Sleep 48 HRS in a row. Then buy expensive for exercising, like a membership to the best gym and supplement pharma to get energy. Get all medical tests available. Hire the best doctor for monthly checkups. Pay off mortgage. Give my cars away to my nieces and nephews. Buy a McLaren and a low-profile Toyota. Hire a lawyer and an accountant. That's only on the first week. Then we'll see. Story 68. Not telling a soul and getting my dental stuff done. Then paying off my debt and putting myself through school for NetSec. Then finding a nice place to quietly live out my days while investing everything else to live off the dividends. Story 69. First and foremost, ask me mom for the number to her finance guy. That guy's done some wizardry with her money. Once all that's sorted out, and we've got enough savings to pretty much pay a comfy wage for life, we start on the fun things. Lifetime passes to some local zoos with some big donations. Sort my disabled brother out. He's already got it incredibly good, but I want it secured for him. Sort my house out good and proper. It's a 14th or 15th century English cottage, which is about as up to code as I am. Couple cherry-pick cars, vehicles. Hobbies. Gym to work off all the food I'm going to devour. Take the wife around the world. Story 70. Calling a local CPA firm to hire a full-time guy. We already know who. When we buy tickets, we lay in bed and discuss what we'll do if we win. It's part of the entertainment of buying it all. Next is to pay off the mortgage and hire our deck guy to make our yard amazing. Story 71. Put something like $8 million in one of those accounts that pays me interest immediately. Live off of that, or at least partially, for the rest of my days. Of course, when you get money like that, you would want to blow some. That's what the $2 million is for. Buy a nice little house in the country, build a shop, get a few toys. A couple million could easily do that. Live normally. Story 72. Assuming 10M is collected, if not same percent split. 30-year plan. 2.5M in S&P. 2.5M in cash-flowing real estate portfolio. 2.5M in CD. 1M on primary home. 5M on enjoying my winnings. Remaining 1M in cash to be ready for opportunities. Cash out the S&P and real estate after 20 years. Roll that into my CD fund for the remaining 10. By then, I'll be 65. I'm cashing out most and setting up the next generation in real estate and stocks, while buying dividend stocks or still riding the CDs or both to pay my living expenses. Story 73. Pay off my sister's mortgage. Pay off my kid's mom's mortgage. Pay off my 2 best friends' mortgages. Buy my retired parents an amazing cruise around the world. Quit my job. Book a no-expenses-spared holiday. Probably Disneyland with the kids. That's probably about £1.6 million spent. Then I'm selling my house and buying or building something for myself. Let's call that another £1 million gone. Then I'm buying a pub to keep me occupied. Running a pub has always been a bit of a pipe dream, so I'll buy one near where I live with staff to manage it, and I'll spend a couple hours a day there having lunch and a pint or two, just making sure everyone's cool. Another £1 million to buy it and do it up. As for the rest, half will go in trust funds for my kids. The remainder in an investment account for me to live off the dividends. Story 74. Paying off the mortgage and then putting 99.99% in the highest interest savings account I can and living off the interest. Easy get 4-5+% from a bank on that much, and that's $500,000 interest a year. Pay off my parents' and close family's mortgages. Leave my job when money is in my bank. Then don't tell anyone. Story 75. There was a story about how a guy won the lottery on a Saturday but couldn't turn the ticket in until Monday. So he walked to the store and grabbed a can of ravioli. As he was walking to the cashier, he thought, wait, I just won the lotto. I'm a millionaire now. So he walks back to the aisle, put the can of ravioli back, and grabbed a name brand can of ravioli. Story 76. Making sure to keep it secret. They like to use you for advertising and all this stuff. I would make sure that all the forms and contracts included anonymity for me. I don't need extra telemarketers, charities, or distant and not so distant relatives lining up to take their piece of the pie. 10M only goes so far. It's enough to retire on now and never have to worry, but only if I'm careful. Story 77. Pay off all my debt, including my house, investing the rest, then buying a small RV, grabbing my girlfriend and the dogs, and hitting the road for a month or two to see every site in the U.S. I have always wanted to see. Story 78. Very first, probably getting high and getting a thoroughly gluttonous delivery food order. Then once I wasn't high anymore, within about 2 hours, I'd do just some quick hitting stuff. Call my dad. Normally I'd fly, but all the recent crashes have me nervous. I'll tell him he can retire. He gets 1.8, 1.3 he will be required to spend on himself, and the other 500K he can do whatever he wants with. Then ID get some quick sub 10K donations in just to get some cash to orgs people that need it fast. Sub 10K =, below the IRS reporting. Then ID sit on everything for about a week with a semblance of a plan before I go to a financial advisor. Story 79. Hiring a lawyer. I know a few people who will see green and try to suck my bank account dry, or suddenly expect me to pay them back for something stupid and unreasonable like all the dinners they've paid for me in the past, even though at the time they wanted to pay as a gift to me and I would return the favor next time. Money changes people. When they see others have it, they get greedy and jealous. Story 80. Speak with an accountant and depending what they say, quit my job. I'm not looking to live like a millionaire, so I think I could honestly coast on 10 mil for the rest of my life if managed properly. Story 81. If I won $10 million, the first thing I'd do is take a break, probably quit my job and go on a trip to clear my head. Then I'd talk to financial advisors, set up investments, and help out family and friends. After that, I'd buy a house, maybe a couple of cars, and think about a few fun projects or passions I've always wanted to pursue. Story 82. First, shut my mouth, find an attorney, and get advice on investing it. I would help my 3 siblings. We are all comfortable, but didn't come from money. I might consider doing the right people immigration thing for Canada. People with money get in. Story 83. Off-grid in the woods near a lake miles away from other humans. Far enough there won't be any foot traffic, but close enough it's not a terrible inconvenience to venture to town for necessity every few months. Story 84. Call Uncle Roy, actual expert financial advisor. Trade in my car and buy something I really want. Nothing out there, just my car, my specs. Investigate architecture firms to increase the MCM of my home and improve its functionality for our business and home life. Listen to Roy. Use his advice to buy my child a home, start a dog rescue, buy a banging pop-up camper, and hope it lasts so I can pursue my doctorate and career independent of financial pressures and share with my loved ones. Story 85. I was already thinking about getting a car and planning payments and whatnot. I'd get the one I want that is just out of range and pay for it up front. Then I can drive myself to the dentist. Story 86. I've got so many around the house purchases to make. I need a new oven, refrigerator, washer and dryer, and a new used car. Then gonna get a bunch of small entertainment upgrades. Give 2 mil to each of my siblings, then put the rest in a savings account. Story 87. Hire a lawyer and financial advisor because I would have no idea where to start, then pay off my family's debts, open several charities to help children across the world, set aside enough that my kids would not have to worry about educational debt. I would want to only keep what is necessary and donate the rest in productive ways. I don't want wealth, but being debt-free would be nice, so I can focus on helping those less blessed than myself. Story 88. First, pay taxes, so I'd bring home 8.5 million, give or take. Get nice house. Get dogs and cats to love on. Set up tool shed and man cave. That's 1.5 comma, so I'd hire an accountant and lawyer I trust on retainer. That'd be another 0.5, so I would then invest in my dream store I have always wanted to own. So even if it is a net loss, I would be doing something I love and having a comfy amount of money for the LLC to tap on slower months, but I would live in relative financial security for the rest of my life. I have no children and never will, but I will make trusts for my nieces and nephews, for my immediate siblings, who would also get stipends and investment opportunities. I'd lock the rest into long-term investments in tech and renewable energy stocks. Story 89. Pay off mortgages for 2 family members and buy homes outright for 2 more. Then lots of donations to area land trusts, green spaces, and a vocational school. Keep what's left after that spree, perhaps buy some land suitable for farming, and lease it out. Story 90. Family gets trusts. Parents I don't talk to get enough money so they don't have to work a job they hate in their last years. Siblings get enough to pay off their debts and college funds for their kids. Kids get the college funds but have to keep their grades up. This is all done via lawyers. No personal contact from me because I'm already gone. Story 91. 10 million isn't very much, so I'd help some of my family but otherwise keep it quiet, as I couldn't help everyone and still be a millionaire. There's one family member who would want $1 million and who would blow through that like it was water and who would then be expecting another $1 million. For myself, I would buy a house, probably in a rural area, and then just keep to myself from then on. Story 92. Pay off my mortgage and debt. Buy a 45 sailboat and a commercial smoker that I will retrofit for use on a boat. I will rename it the Brisket Frigate, then take people on charter tours and cook delicious meats for them as we go on delicious adventures. I will leave the other 9 million invested and leave it to my kids. I will live off what I make from my adventures, and my pension will be my safety net. One day when I am old and feel I have lived enough, I will sail out into a storm and fight the sea one last time. Story 93. Containing my excitement to the highest degree. I'd be tempted to celebrate lavishly, to go on a vacation or something, but I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to move into a better apartment, going to buy some nice homeware goods. I'm going to get my PhD stress-free and just vibe. Story 94. My dream is to open the highest quality daycare primary school that can be had in a poor, underserved neighborhood. In my worldview, there is no social ill that could not be improved by investing more in kids. Every once in a while, I buy a lottery ticket, but no luck yet. Story 95, I actually know a guy that won exactly that. $10 million on a scratchy. Bought his rented house off his landlord, bought his wife a new car, retired from his job, and lived off the payments. Bought a couple toys here and there, nothing crazy, and lived relatively modestly. He was a great man. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. So I'd do probably exactly what he did. Story 96, $10 million would finish off my career. Put me into retirement. I'd spend a couple months working with a small group of financial professionals to rapidly transition into a retirement state, starting with a tax attorney and my accountant. I'd concurrently plan with my family on our new normal. What is life going to look like from here? Once I was comfortable with both, say 3-4 months, I'd give 1 month's notice and exit stage left into my new life. $10 million, less taxes, ain't enough to do anything drastic. It's also not enough to retire on indefinitely for many, but it's enough to set yourself up rapidly. But it's a small enough sum that you need to still make smart, measured moves. Story 97, first thing is calling some people and forcing them to go get tacos with me. And I only say force them because they both work. But guess what? Bestie or boss now, we getting tacos, won't tell anyone. I have that much money, but I'll tell them I'll pay their shift's wage for the day if they come and get tacos with me. Story 98, crying, tears of joy. Myself to a peaceful sleep in solitude in a hotel bed. Life is chaos and coming at you from all different directions. And nothing would give me more happiness than just 8 hours of sleep without an alarm clock. No boss, no coworkers, no family, no friends, no strangers. Just for 8 hours, I would tune off and wake up with a smile after many years. Story 99. Invest all 10M into a ladder municipal bond system and live off the interest. Whatever I don't use annually, reinvest in VTI, VWO, and VA. Then start hobbies, pursue real estate, and dress like a hobo. Maybe, just maybe, splurge on a nice Toyota Corolla. Maybe. Story 100. Of course, hire an accountant, lawyer, and ideally only spend half, invest the other half. Maybe buy a few businesses or franchises. Move to Switzerland or France. Buy a mid-sized rural property and build a few things. A 3BR3BA home with a conversation pit, industrial kitchen with walk-in fridge and freezer, walk-in pantry, home theater. A guest house suite, art and music studio for my wife. A heated mechanics garage with a hydraulic lift and tools. A workshop with woodworking tools, dust collection, storage for aging wood. A large garden and greenhouse. A semi-covered outdoor patio space with a wood-fired pizza, bread oven, BBQ, smoker. I'd want a few cars too if I can afford them. A sporty station wagon. I'd get electric if possible in a wagon. Volvo V70R, Audi RS6, AMG E63, VW Passat W8. A Toyota Tundra or Dodge Cummins diesel. A Toyota Lexus Land Cruiser, like the 200 series. A Subaru Sandbar K truck for around the property in town. I want a few toys too. Small weekender caping trailer. E-bikes for my wife and I and friends. Paramotor or ultralight aircraft. This list is overkill, but still things I've always dreamed of. Story 101. I'm hiring a financial advisor first to make sure I don't blow it. Then I'm buying a house, setting up investments, and making sure my family's taken care of. After that, I'd take some time off and actually relax for once. Story 102. Do I have it in my possession or am just aware I won it like a lottery ticket? If it's in hand or bank account, I'm blowing off the rest of my workday and going out with my wife to celebrate. If I'm only aware of the win and it's a lottery ticket, I'm making a photocopy of the ticket, locking it in my safe, stressing out about it being lost, damaged before I can claim it, and scheduling time with a lawyer and continuing my workday. If I'm aware of the win, no cash in hand, but it's guaranteed, not something I need to claim, prove, I'm continuing my workday as normal until it hits my bank account, while continuing to doubt this is real. Story 103. First thing I'm doing is paying off my current student loans and then living frugally while finishing college, then buying some land out in nowhere and building my dream house. I don't have to worry about family or friends being beggars because the only family I talk to is my grandma who'd be coming with me. And I have very few friends, but they're the ones that would be trustworthy with that kind of info. Story 104. I'd take care of all my bills and buy a house. Then I'd set up a long-term plan so I could travel and just enjoy life without the stress of money. Probably spend a lot of time figuring out what I actually want to do with the freedom. Story 105. Don't tell anyone. Get a lawyer. Get a financial advisor. Next, pay off loans. Then buy a home with rental property attached. If you don't like the home, you can rent it out to later on. For 10 million, I'm not telling anyone ever. For like 100 million, after things are settled, you make a one-time deposit into a fund for close friends and family. Be clear there's no more money ever if they blow through it. Story 106. Start business ventures focused on using capitalism for good. For example, a pharmaceutical company that gives life-saving for free to patients without insurance and charging insurance companies 10x the ordinary price. That way, I'd over insurance companies, give to those that cannot afford or are denied insurance and make enough money to further develop said. I'd have to start small, obtaining patents of that very few patients need for some rare diseases, and gain the first boom of income whenever someone with insurance needs that drug. The more money the business would earn, the more patents would be bought, and the more patients would be helped by better medicine. Or, something similar. Story 107. I lost my fiancé and my mother in the past year. I would call my dad and tell him things are taken care of and his retirement is insured. I'd call my late fiancé's parents and let them know their money worries no longer exist. I'd call a financial officer to make sure I can successfully set up my money to take care of the people closest to me. Story 108. Stay quiet. Claim ticket immediately, but don't agree to publishing your name, etc. for a couple of months. Start asking everyone you know to help you move a hide-a-bed into a 3-story walk-up with no elevator. Ask out the most attractive individuals you can find. Go and try to negotiate a fair deal on a nice new vehicle. You get the picture. Keep score on all this. Day of reveal as the winner publicly. Have a private car and a private plane at the ready. Walk up, say thank you, no comment at this time, leave immediately and figure out what to do after that.